Hey, looky here. It's the Pat and JT podcast.
Pat and JT podcast.
Yeah, it is. It's our Monday Facebook, Instagram Live. Thanks for listening. Rate, review, and subscribe.
All kinds of good stuff. Long weekend? How you doing?
Good. Yeah,
How's your Husker hangover?
Well, it's still there. It's frustrating, but I don't know. Still not.
God dang it.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And
I know. It's right there in our grasp.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Yeah. And it's like, you're right.
I say ours loosely. You know what I mean?
Our collective grasp. And it's like after that interception, bouncing off the knee, whatever, reminiscent of the 1997 Matt Davidson catch to win it in Missouri. Like it was that kind of the chances of that.
Yeah.
Were so slim. And of course it would happen to us when we got a little bit of momentum and a minute or however long and chance to potentially win the game. And we have that. I mean, that's what I mean. It's like, whatever, what are you going to do? Like if
it could be another, okay. So to be honest, I mean, the week before we had a loss, but we could still find some moral victory. I think we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
The week before
we could find a more victory because it was Ohio State. And then, yeah.
And so now it's kind of like, okay, we're done playing that game. I don't have any room for this anymore because we don't have time to mess around. We don't have time to mess around.
I know.
We have USC coming up next. Is that right?
Yes. And we have, and Ohio State goes into Penn State this weekend and beats Penn State at home. So Ohio State's a legit team. So again, adding to that moral victory that we did pretty well in there. But then we come over and just poop the bed this weekend. I believe we have a bye week this week.
We do.
Okay. So then USC and then
the 16th is USC. So that to me is our best chance.
I don't know. I'm feeling Wisconsin and I'm feeling
Wisconsin and Iowa. Did you see what Iowa did though this weekend?
I did.
So,
but it's like, you never know. Who are we going to be?
Who are we?
Yeah. Who's going to show up?
Yeah. I'm just looking at the schedule.
If the team that shows up that played Ohio State, we could beat any of those three. If the team shows up that played Indiana or this last weekend, we're not going to make a bowl game.
And to be this close.
I know.
Just a little baby bowl. That's all we're asking for.
Care.
We just want a little baby bowl.
The Poulon Weed Eater Bowl. We don't care. Just a bowl.
The cat bowl. We'll take the cat bowl. The dog bowl.
I don't care.
Just want a bowl. There's so many bowls. There should be enough bowls for everybody.
Yeah. And I think they need to change the rules because like Matt Rule had said last week, it's not necessarily about the bowl. It's about those 2 to 3 weeks of extra practice for the teams. And Matt Schick said on Schick and Nick that Kelly, his wife, had a great observation that the teams that can't practice because they don't make the bowl are the teams that need to practice. Well, so everybody should be able to practice, but whether you make a bowl or not, every team should be able to practice up until the national championship game. Whenever those teams finish practice, everybody should. Not that the teams that are not going to make a bowl are going to want to go back and practice, but they might.
I wish they had something that was more like March Madness.
Yeah.
And you had 2 different levels, right? You either make you make the big one, or you make the baby one. But at least you made one. I mean, that about every team in the country makes one, don't they?
Well, we're the only team in college football that hasn't made it in the last in the last
8 years.
8 years, yeah, the only team.
There's that.
I think that's accurate. I think I heard that this
I
weekend.
think I heard that too.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know.
Wow.
Anywho,
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not bringing great news to the table, but I know everybody's already talking about Peanut the squirrel and his
Unreal.
buddy Fred.
And Beth watched Peanut videos all the time, like leading up to this. Cute, adorable, amazing.
Oh yeah.
So fun.
I mean, millions of followers.
Mhm.
TikTok, Instagram, they have their website, Peanut's Freedom Farm. And if you didn't see it, perchance, so Peanut is a squirrel that he and his wife, and their last name's long ago, and I can't remember his first name right off the top of my head, but he and his wife had found in New York City, his mama squirrel got hit by a car, and they picked up the baby squirrel 7 years ago and took care of it, got it healed up, tried to release it back out, and it came back with injuries, kept coming back to their home because it didn't have the right training. Really, it wasn't brought up around other squirrels and did not get this. And so they kept the squirrel. And so the squirrel ends up being a pet. And I might add, because I know a lot of people are bringing up the fact that you aren't supposed to have squirrels. Some states you can't have wild animals, all the stuff, that's illegal. And I'm like, I know more than a few people who may have a cat that was feral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And is now a nice little house kitty. But what eventually happened is somebody with some beef to grind in Texas kept calling in a complaint because she thought that she, in her mind, and this is somebody they know, and she's in Texas, and she kept complaining to the authorities in New York eventually that the squirrel was being mistreated and used and abused for these social media.
Oh yeah, because those videos, he looked really abused.
Oh, he looked
so
terrible.
abused.
It was awful. It was right. It was ridiculous. So they had a little place in Connecticut, and then they decided they wanted to, you know what? Let's turn this around and turn it into something huge. Take Peanut and turn it into a sanctuary where we can take in other animals that need homes. So they created Peanut's Freedom Farms. You can go to their website if you want to check it out. It's not elaborate at all, but it does have their tax ID number on it. They filled out all the paperwork, and they found that there were some restrictions in Connecticut. So they decided to move to upstate New York. They go to New York, everything's filed, everything's signed, everything is done. They have a sanctuary. Peanut's Freedom Farm is official. The only thing they were waiting on was an enclosure that could be used for Peanut and for his buddy, Fred the raccoon, who was an addition this last year, to be able to go inside, outside. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the feds show up, or it might have been the state. It's a combination, whatever. Supposedly conservationists that show up at their door. There's 10 agents that drove 2 hours each way to get to the sanctuary with a warrant, but it wasn't like, hey, bud, we got a complaint. We're going to come down, take a look, and see what's going on. No, they show up, surprise visit, knock on the door, make the husband and wife. At one point, they had to stay in one part of the house, and another point they had to go outside.
Just hearing this again, I tried to stay away from the story because it's so
anxiety?
terrible. Yeah, so much anxiety. I just feel so terrible for that little squirrel.
They were coming to confiscate the squirrel.
Ugh.
And they made them stay outside 5 hours. 5 hours. They went through the whole house.
And they even asked them if they had cameras.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing that?
Like if there was a security, that's exactly what I was wondering. What don't you want filmed?
Mm-hmm.
They asked his wife about her immigration status. Oops, did I lose you? There we go. They asked the wife about her immigration status, which I think for no other reason that she has an accent and she's from German descent. This has nothing to do with the warrant.
Right.
Zero. And they took the squirrel. And supposedly somebody got bit either by the squirrel or the raccoon. So that meant they had to euthanize them.
First of all, any animal, if you are a conservationist or you handle animals like that at all, you know that even the tamest animal can bite if it's in a stressful situation or around people it doesn't know. So you probably weren't taking the right precautions if you did actually get bit, which I doubt you did.
I don't think you did. But because the way they talked, they said everybody had on gloves that were like good for a falconry. Like an eagle could land on their arm and they'd be fine. They also those agents, that's who they work for. So they should have already had the preventative rabies vaccine anyway, because they work around those animals and because
don't you, if you do get bit like that, it's a quarantine situation. It's not like an instant euthanize them.
Here's the problem with if you get bit by a wild animal that might be might have rabies. Right now, I think the only way they can test for it is they have to euthanize them, and there's some kind of a test on the brain tissue or something. And somebody even wrote in, there was a couple of doctors that had posted and said, I don't understand why there's not a saliva test for this yet. I don't understand why they haven't come up with a way to do this, that you don't have to euthanize an animal. Because even like if a stray dog bites you, they have to put the dog down to see if it has rabies. Because some may be asymptomatic, and they have to make sure. So if you didn't have your shot to work around wild animals, which most people probably don't, then you have to go through a series of shots preventatively. If you can't find the animal, you have to go through those shots. So they put down both of them. At least that was the rumor. There's been some people talking back and forth right now saying there's a chance. He even put out a video, as a matter of fact, and said, the only way he found out about them being euthanized was from a news story. He's had zero contact from this agency since they broke into his house, or since they ransacked his house. Zero.
I just don't understand it. I don't understand what else is behind this, because there has to be something behind this to show that much aggression.
Aggression?
Yeah. And intimidation. I don't understand.
It's and the sanctuary itself is completely set up. They have like 300 animals there. I mean, it's everything from goats and ducks to horses, and there's all kinds of critters there. They wouldn't let them tend to any of their animals either for the 5 hours while they were there. And they just had them like siloed off on the front yard and had them wait while they went through all this stuff. And Lord knows, the poor squirrel. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm just thinking my dogs, my cats. It's like I would be livid, and they were just in tears. This couple.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because just the fear to begin with, but then the memes started, right? And so the memes have come back, and you've got Elon Musk is commenting about this. You've got the president, former President Trump is commenting about this. Some governors are commenting about this. You've got some other politicians, and also some in law enforcement that are commenting about this, because there's so many holes in this. But somebody signed off on the warrant. Like somebody somewhere filled out the paperwork and got it in front of a judge, and they got a judge to sign off on this. Right.
To go from zero contact at all, not even investigating the situation, to elevate it to this. I don't get it. In
a heartbeat. And then there's the veterinarian that actually put the little critters down. That's another question, is on whose authority and on what word, and that the owners weren't given any opportunity. To do anything.
Seriously makes me sick.
So it's escalating because it's spreading like wildfire. Like you said, you guys were watching it and you were fans, and everybody. I mean, I'm sure most people have seen the videos and maybe even didn't realize who it was. And he also, that was the other thing. They also brought up, because he has an OnlyFans that he started, because he's hot. Okay, I'm just gonna say, okay. And if you're following anybody on you ever watch the Facebook of the guy, the lumberjack dude?
I've heard about that. Yeah.
I would pay $1 a month to watch that. And so I'm just saying, but he has an OnlyFans, and it's called Squirrel Daddy. And yeah, he says, yeah, I absolutely do, because any of the money that we make goes toward the sanctuary.
Sure. And 100%. And if somebody throws that at him as shade, like he is like, oh, well, he's got, that's, who cares?
I don't even care.
If I looked like that,
you would be all over it. You'd take quarters and dimes.
I do what I wouldn't care. Whatever.
So anyway, so that's kind of the hot story this weekend. So and we'll keep following it. Keep our eye on it.
Yeah.
Because infuriating, kind of pulling the country together. It's pulling the country together.
It is.
So he's galvanizing all the politically diverse people behind a common cause.
Well, yeah, they'll get to the bottom of it and figure out what happened.
For Peanut and Fred.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all I got.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you for listening or watching. We do a live every Monday. We appreciate that. Otherwise, every day, download, rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. It helps people find it. Thanks. Have a great rest of your Monday. Later.
Pat and JT Podcast, a Hurrdat Media Production.